Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shots on Target podcast. It's been a while. We said we were going to take some time off and absolutely redo it, and that's exactly what we've done. My name's Phil, introduced by my man Jakey here.
What's good, everyone? Glad to be back.
It's going to be fantastic. A new Premier League season is upon us. And today we will be doing our predictions for the 2023-2024 Premier League season, just like we did last year, guys, if you did watch the video. And we are not going to mess about, we're just going to get straight into it.
And let's hope our predictions aren't as bad as they were last season.
They probably will be, let's be honest.
It's awful predicting Premier League, but let's get into it.
Let's do this.
I'll let you take it away first. I'll let you rhyme yours off.
Okay, so I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So, rock bottom of the Premier League, I think everybody and their nans will have Luton Town, bottom of the Premier League. It's fantastic to see them back in the Premier League. They're going to have a great exposure season. Their fans are just going to enjoy it. But at the end of the day, it's Luton Town. They have no money. They've put £150 million to redo their stadium that they have to do. So they've got absolutely no money to spend. They're trying to get deals done on free transfers and loans, etc. But I don't see any way in hell that they do not finish bottom of the Premier League. I think they could be even rivaling Derby's points from a few seasons ago. So I have Luton in 20th. 19th.
I think there'll be a few that do that.
Well, so in 19th I have Sheffield United. Again, same as Luton. I think it's fantastic to see them back in the Premier League. They do have a bit more of a war chest than Luton, but I don't see them really. I think they'll turn out some results. There'll be some crazy results in the season, even from Luton as well. You could see Luton holding the champion City 0-0. Do you know what I mean? Because they're just going to park the bus. But Sheffield United in 19th. And the last team relegated I have is Wolverhampton Wanderers. It's a very peak times at Wolverhampton right now. They've got no money. The chairman is not backing. That's why Lopetegui has left. They've brought in Gary O'Neill, who, yes, can do miracles. He's shown it with Bournemouth, but I just don't see it. I think they're selling most of their best players as well. They're not bringing in anyone that's really going to do anything. It's such a shame as well, because at one point we had Wolves seeing them in 7th, 8th and stuff like that, where they were looking fantastic. But that's football these days. But yes, we have Wolves in 18th. In 17th, just surviving again, I have Bournemouth. At the start of this transfer window, I had Bournemouth completely going down, but obviously things have changed. I have Bournemouth just surviving now. They've made some okay signings. I think they're going to be right bang in it. I think it will only be a matter of time before Bournemouth do get relegated. I don't see any, unless they bring in a Saudi owner or something, I don't see Bournemouth's fortunes changing anytime soon. But they do have some exciting players in there. Solanke is one of them. But yeah, 17th for Bournemouth. So in 16th place, I have West Ham United. Now, I could go on and on and on about it, and depending on time restraints, we may do a whole episode on West Ham United, but I'm just going to give a little rundown. Obviously, sold Declan Rice. The transfers that we're apparently bringing in, we confirmed Alvarez today, which is a good signing, but I mean, Harry Maguire, do I need to say more?
Harry Maguire.
Yeah. That looks like that's just around the corner, so that's going to be an interesting one for sure. And to be honest, I just see, because obviously we won the Conference League, we're back in the Europa League as well. We're not signing a striker, we're selling one instead. Scamacca's gone to Atalanta. So Antonio has once again got to feel most of the responsibilities in that position, unless Danny Ings gets more game time, but he's old. I mean, it's just looking bleak. It's looking bleak. Obviously, I always think the best of my club, but in this situation, I just can't do it. But as I say, could be a full episode on that where I really get into depths. And if we do that, you won't want to miss it, because I've got some very big things to say about my club. But moving on, In 15th place, I have Everton. I see them back in a relegation battle again. I don't see them getting relegated though because of again, they're like Bournemouth because of the other teams. I think they'll survive. Sean Dyche is one of those managers that he knows how to park the bus, so I think they'll get results and enough to keep them up, but they won't be doing anything in terms of challenging the top half or anything like that. Again, possibly a couple of crazy results here and there. In 14th place, I have Nottingham Forest. I think they showed last season that they can perform when they don't sign 30 players and have a team that actually sits in and gels. It took them about 6-7 months to figure out their best 11, 15, 16 players, but now I think they've got that. They've got a solid foundation to at least be respectful in the Premier League. In 13th place, I have Crystal Palace. I think they have one of the best young kids in Elise. That's obviously why he's being looked at by the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool, etc. I think if they can keep him, they've got a good chance of challenging for the top half, but I see them missing just short. In 12th place, we have Burnley. I said this last season when Company took over. I said he was going to do a fantastic job and get them into the Premier League. He absolutely pissed all over the Championship with Burnley. And
as he probably should have done.
Well, with the team he had and the signings he made, yeah. And again, I think he's going to come and do a fantastic job at Burnley, and I have them in 12th place. I think they're going to be challenging the top half. I think they're going to be a very tough team to beat. They play expansive football, which no one is used to with Burnley. We're used to Dyche's Burnley with the sit back and the play long. Dyche ball, exactly. But yeah, I have them in 12th place, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Burnley can do this season. In 11th place, I have Fulham. Again, another team that not surprised everyone last season because they did have a good team going into the Premier League. But I think the way they performed at times, Fulham, they looked very good. And again, I've seen no change. Obviously, they could be about to lose Mitrovic, but I think even without him, I think they'll be okay. And again, another team challenging the top half. Now, number 10 is an interesting one with Brentford. I genuinely think they're going to be around 14th, 15th up until January when Ivan Toney comes back. And then they will pick on, back up again, and then I have them finishing in 10th place. It's the stupidest thing ever, Ivan Toney's suspension. We're not going to get into it, but
we could do a whole episode on that as a whole, and the whole betting situation in football.
You generally could, but as I say, I think they will be the 10th place team. In 9th place, I have Tottenham. This is as it stands. Harry Kane is still a Tottenham player. If they do end up selling Harry Kane, I have them a lot lower. And I have everyone moving up a place because this guy carries Tottenham Hotspur. There's no doubt about it. They have made some good signings with Kulusevski signing on a permanent now. Madders is a good signing. But other than that, I don't really see anything that stands out.
It's going to be a big season for Ange Postecoglou. You can say that for...
Oh, definitely. A brand new manager as well coming in. But with everything that's thrown against Tottenham right now, and as I say, if they do keep Harry Kane, I have them 9th. If they lose him, then I'd say 14th, 15th, maybe 13th.
That's bleak.
But moving on, we have Aston Villa in 8th place. This was a tough one from 2nd to 8th for me. There's a lot of teams that could chop or change here for sure. I don't think I'll have this completely spot on. I'll be very surprised if I do. But I did put Aston Villa in 8th place. I think with their being in Europe for the first time in a long time. They had such a fantastic season last year. They've got some fantastic players. And Emery literally had them firing all cylinders. But I think with the teams above them now strengthening, that's where I have them. I think that's like the best of the rest sort of thing for Villa. In 7th place, I have Brighton. Incredible season for them last year. Obviously, they've sold McAllister, but they've still kept most of their key players. They still currently have Caicedo as well. They have sold their keeper Sanchez, but I think if anything, he was more of a backup keeper anyway.
I'll say he was not their number one towards the back half of the season. It was like Steele, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that the keeper situation really affects them too much. I think they just had two good goalkeepers anyway. But yeah, so I have Brighton in 7th. I still think the likes of Mitoma and Ciso, etc., will do a job for Brighton. Ferguson, Lewis Dunk in that roaming centre-back role. I've not got any worries about Brighton. This one was an interesting one for me. Newcastle United, obviously, they've signed well. They've picked up the players they wanted. Livramento, Harvey Barnes. They've obviously kept the players they wanted to keep. They haven't really... It's a Newcastle. When you've got the money, you don't have to sell anyone if you don't want to. I think the only player they've really let go of is St. Maximin that really made a difference from last year. But they've still got the likes of Isak, Wilson, Guimarães, Pope, Trippier. It all depends, for me, on what Europe does for these teams. The Villa, Brighton, Newcastle debate. Newcastle being back in the Champions League for the first time in God knows how many years. Have they ever been in the Champions League since it was called the Champions League? I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yes.
Have they?
And is it Keegan?
Oh yeah, quite possibly. It could have been called the Champions League then.
I think so.
Could have been. It could have been a different name then, but either way, that's where I have Newcastle, 6th place. In 5th place, I have Chelsea. Obviously, a season to absolutely forget for Chelsea fans last year, but they got promised a return this year, and looks like Pochettino is being backed. He's getting the signings he wanted. They're in talks of 2 out of 4 midfielders out of Elise, Adams, Caicedo, and who's the 4th one I'm missing? Lavia.
Oh, what it must be like to have owners that back your manager.
Tell me about it. But yeah, so I have Chelsea in 5th place. I think they'll be battling top 4 again. I don't see them making it into the top 4 just because of the improvements that the other teams have made as well. In 4th place in the Champions League spots, I have Manchester United. I think they've made some fantastic signings. The only questionable one I have is Mason Mount. Why would you spend £60 million on a number 10 when you already have Bruno, who plays the exact same role? But
awful signing, in my opinion.
Maybe Ten Hag knows something we don't. You just don't know. He could be playing him in a different position. Maybe he sticks him next to Casemiro, and because I've seen that Man United are looking to get rid of Fred and McTominay. Apparently, Fred's in talks with Fulham at the minute, which would be a fantastic signing for Fulham.
Yeah, that'd be a great signing for Fulham. Proper workhorse.
Absolutely. That's the type of player I want West Ham to go for. Don't go for McTominay, go for Fred. Perfect.
Yeah.
But anyway, Man United in 4th. I have Arsenal in 3rd. I think they've made some fantastic signings. Declan Rice being the obvious one. I think Timber's a fantastic signing. David Raya as a backup keeper. I think they have 2 of the best keepers in the Premier League now. I just think in terms of what last season was for them, it was a season where Arsenal were there not because everyone was worse, but it was like there was like an open spot and they just sort of walked into it and they rode with it once, because Arsenal's main problem has always been about consistency for me, and they kept it last season. Can they do it again? Can they do it again is the question. Because obviously it showed like you say, at the end of last season, that's where the consistency and the pressure got to them. But they have now been in that situation, so they know what it's like. So I still expect them to be right up there. I think they're going to cause 95% of the teams in the league a lot of trouble.
I still think they benefited from a low-scoring league season as well.
I agree as well, but I do think that you still have to beat what's in front of you and play in the position you're in. We don't say that about Leicester, do we? So, in 2nd place, obviously, is Liverpool. This will probably come as a shock to a lot of people because obviously only 2 signings. Good signings though, don't get me wrong. McAllister and Shabalai. Go on then. Correct me, Jay. Go on.
Szoboszlai.
There you go. I knew you wanted to say that. It sounds better, I'm telling you. But yeah, so I have Liverpool in 2nd place. I do think though that it was an off season for Liverpool last year, and they showed at the back end of last season that, again, it was just consistency. But when they put that consistency and that run together, they looked like title winners once again, because I think they won 8 out of their last 9 games to finish where they did, which they should, in that situation and position, they shouldn't have done it. So that just proves they're still up there, and you've still got your likes of Salah. I think players like Nunez, etc., will come good. And obviously, rounding it off, once again, your champions are Manchester City. I don't even have to say too much on this. They've still got the players that they want. Don't get me wrong, they've lost a fantastic player in Gundogan and Mahrez, but they've still got the likes of Grealish, Haaland, De Bruyne. They've just signed the best young defender in the world in Gvardiol. I just don't see it. I don't think anyone else, unless you're that fan of that team, I don't think you see anyone else winning the Premier League, let's be honest. And that's about it. That is my predictions for the 2023-24 season. I will let you take it away, Jakey.
Yeah, some very, very good picks. And to be fair, looking at my predictions, I don't think we're too far off. Rock bottom, like you say, will be at the bottom of everyone's predictions, is Luton. I think it's fantastic that they're in the Prem, but I do think they will be rivaling Derby's lowest tally point. You know, I think they might pick up the odd point at home because, you know, Kenilworth Road isn't going to be an easy stadium to go to once they get all the changes done to it. But I still think they just don't have enough. The free signings they've made, well, yeah, they're good for Luton. They're not good enough for the league.
Oh.
See, I see them going down. Sheffield, I also have 19th for essentially the same reasons.
Yeah.
I know that they did a fantastic job when they were in the league once upon a time, you know, pushing for, I think, Europe at one point when they were up. But, you know, the league's changed since then. They've changed since then. And I don't see them replicating anything like that again. I do think they go down. And the last of the relegation candidates is Everton. I think for a third season in a row, they're going to be in and around it. And this season, I think, will be the last. I think their luck runs out. I don't think they've signed particularly well. Don't get me wrong, Danjuma's a good player, but he didn't really push into Tottenham's team. And, yeah, I don't think that squad's good enough as it is without signings, and they've not really made any. So, yeah, I don't see a world where Everton stay up. They can prove me wrong. They have in the past, but, yeah.
Yep.
17th, quite like you, having them low down, I've gone with Wolves. I do think they've got maybe a little bit more quality in their squad than Everton. And Gary O'Neill, like you say, he can work miracles. He did it with Bournemouth. But, yeah, I'd be worried if I was a Wolves fan.
Agreed.
Especially with with the likes of losing Neves, who I think was their best player by far. Jose Sa leaving. Jose Sa didn't leave, did he?
Don't think so, not yet.
No, not yet.
They lost Nathan Collins.
Yeah, who was a good player for them. But yeah, worrying times to be a Wolves fan. In 16th, I have West Ham.
Excellent.
Edson Alvarez is a very good signing. I just think you've lost too much. I don't know where your goals are going to come from this season.
Not a clue.
Not a clue.
Bowen needs another worldy season.
Yeah. But Alvarez will be a very good signing. He can play as a defensive midfielder. He can play as a centre back. Maguire, I think, is a panic buy considering the league starts in 3 days.
2 days.
2 days. Ward-Prowse, if that gets over the line, I think will be a good signing. He's a West Ham type signing, if you kind of get what I mean.
He's a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll have another Payet dead ball specialist.
Oh yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. Every time I get a free kick, I'll be licking my lips.
In 15th, I have Bournemouth. I think they've got just about enough to stay up.
You have them above West Ham.
I do worry because I don't know where your goals are going to come from.
Fair play, carry on.
Bournemouth kind of have players that chip in all around the field. I think you've only literally got Bowen. And especially if Paqueta leaves, that's another loss of goals.
Oh, God, yeah.
In 14th, I have Forest. I
Mhm.
think if they can get a proper, set 11, they'll stay up. I think they showed glimpses of it last season that, once they have a set 11, they know how to play football. Nico Williams is a good right back. Morgan Gibbs-White is a brilliant midfielder.
Yeah.
The only worry I have for them, quite like a lot of other teams are on the bottom, is where do their goals come from?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think they've
They've got that, what's his name?
Taiwo, won't you?
Oh, won't you? Yeah. I think he's set for a big season this year. Generally do.
Mm.
No,
We'll
generally
have
do.
to wait and see. I don't think he's a 15, 20 goal a season striker, but
I think with Forest, by March, they'll be away from the relegation zone and you'll know the 5 teams that are battling it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
They'll be fine.
In 13th, not the same as you, but quite similar to how you think, I've got Burnley.
Hmm.
The only worry I have is, are Burnley going to do what Leeds did? As, they were but Bielsa was always quite stubborn how he wanted to play, He wasn't willing to change to try, see out games. They were an exciting team to watch, but
Mm.
it was very much they had to score more than they conceded to stay up. And that's my worry for Burnley. Are they going to be in a similar position, or is Company going to think like, right, we're with the big boys now, we're going to have to play differently?
I think Company will be smart enough to know that playing under Guardiola, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'll say we'll have to wait and see. It's all hindsight, isn't it?
Absolutely.
In 12th, I have Fulham.
Hmm.
This could be very low, or a lot lower, if they lose Mitrovic. Because again, they don't have a lot of goals in that team. And I think him performing how he did last season was what, got them where they finished.
Yeah, that was our main point with Fulham. It was like
That was the main point last
if
season.
Mitrovic can return with goals, they'll be fine, and they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 11th, I've got Palace.
Hmm.
This is subject to change if they lose Elisa.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams sniffing around him. I wouldn't be shocked if he left.
No, me
He's a
either.
very, very good footballer. And
Agreed.
I don't know how Hodgson's going to set up this season.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. In 10th, quite like you, I have Brentford.
Yep.
Yeah, a brilliant team under Thomas Frank. And I think they'll be set for another season where they just impress a lot of people. I do think, like you said, they'll struggle without Tony because you're losing a 20 goal a season striker there.
Yep.
Through a silly ban, but like I say, we could do a whole episode on that.
They're still going to be solid though, Brentford.
Yeah, they'll still be solid. They've still got goals. They've got Mbuemo. They've got different avenues.
Definitely.
In 9th, I have, and this will come to a shock to a lot of people, I have Newcastle. I think
State your case.
yeah, I think if they want to go far in the Champions League, which every team who gets in the Champions League will want to do, they will have to sacrifice one of them. And I think if they want to go far in the Champions League, they're going to have to sacrifice the league.
Mm.
And if they go out early, this could be different. I can see them finishing maybe a 5th or a 6th. But if they want, they look to go far in the Champions League, it's going to be not a troubling season because they'll still finish in the top half. But I do think they'll struggle to play well on both fronts.
Mm-hmm.
I do think they'll struggle with that. But carry on. I have Spurs in 8th. This again could change if Kane leaves. As it currently stands, I think he's staying. But
Bayern aren't giving up though.
No, they're not. Yeah, a new manager in Postecoglou. He needs to get the players firing because they were abysmal last season. They were pathetic last season.
They need a Son return to form, if anything.
Yeah. In 7th, like last season, where they finished, I have Villa. This could change if they go out early in the European competitions. But again, no team wants to not try and prove themselves as a European contender. So I think they'll struggle, but I think they've got a bit more depth, and I think some of their players are a bit better than Newcastle's. Is the kind of my reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
I think Martinez is a brilliant goalkeeper. Ollie Watkins, if he can continue in his goal scoring form, brilliant. Buendia, brilliant. They've got a lot of very good players.
Yeah, they do.
And they've got a brilliant manager in Unai Emery.
And they finally got rid of Ashley Young.
Yeah. In sixth, I have Brighton. Now, this could change with the links of Caicedo leaving. But again, they'll go find some obscure midfielder in whatever league, and it'll be brilliant for them. Yep. Their recruitment is next to none. It is brilliant, their recruitment.
Best in the league, hands down.
Best, yeah, 100% best in the league. Yeah, again, I think they might struggle with the European competitions. We did see at the end of last season they struggled when they were competing for like cups and things, and they did tail off towards the end of the season. But I do think, they'll have another good season. They'll be back in and amongst the top, and yeah, De Zerbi works wonders with whatever team he seems to coach. Or Brighton is just an easy job to coach.
Yeah.
In fifth, I'm going to piss a lot of fans off of this club. I have Arsenal.
Oh shit.
I think last season competing for the league was obviously they had a great season, but I do think that was more. You look at the teams around them not performing. City started off awfully. City had a really poor and slow start to the season. Even with Haaland scoring as much as he did, they tailed off. It was like for some reason they just couldn't adapt to how Haaland played at first. But once they started thinking, oh yeah, just give him the ball and let him go forward, it started, they were able to hold out results. The changing system also worked, playing John Stones as an inverted wing back, or essentially as just a defensive midfielder, was a stroke of genius by Pep. But I think Arsenal, they've signed well. They've signed Rice. They've signed Timber as well, who I think is a great signing. I do think they lack a goal threat outside of Saka. But, I don't think it'll be a massive drop-off where we see them 8th, 9th, anything like that.
Oh, no, definitely.
And they'll want to try in the Champions League. They'll want to go far. They've not been in the Champions League for years. The players will relish the opportunity of playing in the Champions League.
Definitely.
In fourth could be a weird one. I've gone Chelsea for the simple fact they have no Europe. They won't have massive fixture congestion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they've signed some very, very good players.
I didn't think
But it's all whether them players could gel. If them players gel, they'll be up there. If we see how they played last season, very different.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously they're missing Nkunku for the start of the season, which is a big miss.
And they do have Jackson, though.
Yeah, I think he'll tear this league apart. Somebody, I don't know, I just see it.
Interesting.
In third, I have Manchester United. Don't get me wrong, a good season last season, but I also think they were a team that benefited from other teams around them not performing as well as they could have. You saw some awful results last season from them. The 4-0 to Brentford, the 4-1 to Brighton, the 7-0 to us. They had some very, very awful results. But, they've signed okay. I don't think Mount is a very good signing at all.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to get rid of Maguire, which I think is brilliant for them. They're going to get rid of McTominay, which I think is brilliant for them.
Shaking my head right
now. But I think it'll be an interesting season. And I think, they'll finish high. They might finish second if they go out of Europe quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because obviously, fixture congestion, I don't think they've got the depth. In second, very subject to change, I've gone Liverpool. And I've gone Liverpool for the simple fact, if we get Caicedo, I think we finish second. If we get I'll rephrase, if we get a defensive midfielder, we finish second.
Okay.
We saw how we played last season, towards the end of it, with the new system that Klopp implemented, and we were flying. But my worry is how many we've let go. We've lost our captain, we've lost our vice captain, we've lost Fabinho, we've lost Naby Keita, we've lost Chamberlain. Depth is looking horrendous.
Yeah.
For our midfield, and I worry that that's going to come back to bite us in the arse, because our current defensive midfielder in the club is Bajcetic. That is our only recognised defensive midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I worry about. Don't get me wrong, he's a brilliant player. He's a very promising youngster. But I don't want him playing 38 out of 38 games in the season. I don't think he's ready for that yet. And shock, horror to absolutely nobody. The champions of the 2020, is it 3-4?
3-4.
Yeah. 2023-2024 season will be Manchester City. Look, it's no surprise that everyone, bar maybe, people who want to show a bit of bias, will have City first. They've got a brilliant manager, they've got a brilliant squad, they've signed Vardiol, Haaland will probably go and break his record again.
Fucking hell. I hope not.
They've just got such a good squad. I don't see a world where they don't romp this league. Unless they start slow, I don't see a world where they aren't, it's theoretically they could be champions by Christmas, sort of deal.
They could. At the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if they do start slow. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow night they drew to Burnley 0-0. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, just because that's just what City do. They have a really great pre-season where they just get drinking and get a little bit unfit and they just get a bit off the ball. But then it takes a couple of months for them to get back on it. Bing, bash, bosh, and they're top of the league again.
Yeah.
Simple as.
Yeah. It'll be one of them. We'll see.
We will indeed.
But yeah, they are my 22-23 Premier League predictions.
Alright, so those are our predictions, guys. Some out of the box, some not. You probably will disagree with everything we've said, but you might agree with everything we've said. But that is the beauty of football. Everyone has their own predictions and ideas of how things are going to go. We're going to cut the episode there, guys. We're going to keep this short. There will be another episode following this one. Not going to tell you what it's about. You'll have to click to find out. Just to say thank you guys for tuning in. We know it's been a long time hiatus. We really dropped the ball last season. I think we only recorded 7 or 8 videos and 4 of them were about the World Cup. But we are definitely on it this year. We're going to be bringing you a video every Friday at 6 o'clock. So make sure you bang on those notifications, subscribe to the channel. And also, just quickly, guys, if you are a fan of fantasy football, we have a competition running. It is a £100 prize to the winner. We're going to put the details below in the info of the episode, in the description. The link will be there as well of how to sign up. You must be subscribing on the YouTube channel in order to win the prize, but it's very simple. Fantasy Football League. If you've done it before, players get the points. You climb up the league. If you're first place by the end of the season, you win £100. That simple. Can you beat me and Jakey? Can you do better than what we think we can do? So,
well, that's
you got something to say, Jakey?
I had a mind blank. You know me. It's
fair play. Fair play. It's not a problem. It's been a while, so we're back to this. So give us a few episodes, guys, and we'll get right back into the routine again. But that's going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next episode.
See you later, guys.
See you, guys.